What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well today. We got an exciting interview today, exciting one with Mr. Scott Wood, the three-pointer, the three killer, whatever you want to call him, man. Just Scott. So glad to have you, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I know I've bumped into a couple different times, and I remember one time back earlier this year, actually during baseball season. So want to go ahead and get this out of the way. But I know from the couple times we've bumped into each other, you're a pretty big NC State baseball fan, wouldn't you say?
I would say that's a safe guess.
Yeah. And I mean, I know during your time too, you were saying that you were pretty close with Avent, right? For the most part. Like,
yeah.
I know you had a couple of different run-ins with him. So
yeah, Avent's my guy. Yeah. Obviously I met him through Monty Tao. Him and Monty were always running around and good buddies. So I was lucky enough to be able to throw out a first pitch for one of the games. The day before I threw out the first pitch, Lisa Navis, the former softball coach, asked me to throw out a pitch because my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was the second baseman. So I threw out the pitch at that game, and then the next day I was able to go to the baseball game and throw out the first pitch, and Andrew Simpson caught it for that one, who's another good friend of mine. So, NC State baseball's got a lot of good memories for me. I remember they went to Omaha the year. I was a senior with Trey and Carlos, and I've just remained close to Coach Avent since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, anything in particular, really? I mean, that stood out to you about Coach Avent at all? I mean, any good stories, for the Wolfpack Nation to listen to?
Yeah, I mean, Avent's my guy, and there's one thing that I know is there's nobody that loves NC State more than him. I was lucky enough when we did the TBT 2 months ago. Coach Avent was helping with Team USA, and they had the little qualifiers, so they were getting ready to send the team over to the Olympics. And we mentioned that we wanted him to come to practice because all the guys love him. He was always coming to our practice, getting to know the guys. So he comes into practice, and I guess I don't know if he'd be embarrassed or want me to share the story, but he comes to practice. I mean, everybody's giving him a hug. Everybody loves him. Like, it's so good to see him. He goes, literally, we're stretching right before we're about to do a little bit of practice, and gives everybody hugs, says, how you doing? How's your family? Checking in. And he's sitting there, and we're practicing. And then we had a couple of boosters that came in that were funding a little bit of money to help us be able to travel and not have to pay for any expenses for the TBT. And he came in. When he came in, he was in full Team USA uniform. Like, literally just got done with the game, just came into the gym. And one of the boosters that were there, his son was there. His son was 12 years old. I won't mention who it is, but he's a very popular NC State booster. He had never met Coach Avent before. Wow. And another guy, shout out to, I will mention his name, Ashley Alphen, who's another huge NC State guy, was sitting there with Coach Avent, and they're pretty close buddies. And he asked him, he said, hey, have you ever met Coach Avent before? And he said, no, I haven't. And so they went, and Ashley introduced Coach Avent to the other NC State booster and his son. And they got to talking. We're getting to know each other. And, by this time I was older on the TBT team. So my time at practice was pretty much done. So I was sitting on the sideline just watching everything happen. And then next thing you know, Coach Avent tells everybody bye. He's about to head out, takes his Team USA uniform off his back and gives it to the 12-year-old.
Wow, that's really cool.
Literally, his Team USA uniform, gives it to him.
Wow.
And just walks off. And then he gets to his car and goes and gets Team USA baseballs, all his other gear that he had from Team USA, grabs all of it and gives it to the kid.
Wow.
And that's the one thing that a lot of people behind the scenes that, they see, a baseball coach, they see, the wins and losses, they see that stuff, but they don't see what type of person he is. Like, you could take all NC State aside, his love for NC State, and the guy is truly just a down-to-earth, great person. And and for that, I've just been honored to know him. I've been honored to be a part of NC State baseball and get to know some of the guys. And the bottom line is he just wants what's best for his players. He wants what's best for the university. And he's always putting someone first before himself. And that's the one story that always is going to stick out to me. I know it was only a couple months ago, but it's just that one that you look back on it and you're like, man, NC State's lucky to have a guy like Coach Avent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's put it that way. I know that for me in particular, I was lucky enough to be actually a part of the preseason press conference before this 2021 baseball season. And yeah, I mean, just not only how cool he was about talking about the players, but even cool to the media staff themselves. You know, I mean, like calling them out by name. Hey, James, good to see you. Hope you're doing well, and all that jazz. And, he comes in on the Zoom call with his old school hat and his sunglasses, and that was peak Coach Avent for sure.
and that's just how he is. Like a lot of people, again, I won't mention names, but there's a lot of people that just fake it. You think they're boys just because they're there, and then behind closed doors they're not doing the same thing, and that's just not Coach Avent. I mean, behind closed doors, he's doing the same thing. He's just trying to help anybody that he can and wants what's best for them.
Yeah, I think you look at how they, Mississippi State game. State just played at Mississippi State, and I think the AD invited him down to go be honored. Yep. That's those kind of things you don't see very often, and I imagine for them it takes a special kind of person that to be recognized like that by another school. So you can see his love for the game, the kind of person he is, his love for NC State transcends a lot beyond just the university. It's contagious in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So now jumping into a little bit of you, Scott. So I mean, first of all, one thing we always like to ask every single former player, whatever that we have on, is kind of just give an update in terms of what are you up to these days? I know you're playing a little bit right now. Is that correct? Still?
I'm officially done playing. Once COVID hit, I had my daughter, who's now 2.5, was 1 and some change at the time. We had just gotten back from Spain. COVID was really starting to get kind of bad. I found out my wife was pregnant. It was hard to stop playing because I still wanted to play. But with that, I just didn't want to take my kids over there. I didn't want to take my wife over there. So we decided to stay back and find something to do here. And obviously, the first thing I thought about was getting into coaching. And, it's just easy transition. And I actually got in touch with Chris Corciani, who I've come close with over the last few years, and kind of picked his brain. And one of the things that stood out is, coaching's always going to be there. I'm 31 years old now. For 31 years of my life, all I've known is basketball. 8 years professional basketball. I played basketball is all I can remember. And he said, you can always try something new. And if you don't like it, there's always coaching there. So I actually have gotten into mortgage lending now. So that's what I do by day. So if anybody needs to refinance or purchase, I'm your guy. And then in the afternoons, if I'm not golfing, I'm doing a little bit of training. So I've got anywhere from 12 to 18-year-old. I work out some really good people. Gabe Proctor's at Apex Friendship. I'm going to name drop so they can get recruited. Gabe Proctor, Apex Friendship. Isaac Holmes goes to Apex Friendship. Audrey Erickson is really good, has multiple offers from a lot of mid-majors. So there's a lot of them that have kind of reached out and asked for help. And my whole logic behind it is I've played basketball 31 years of my life. I've gained a lot of knowledge being around a lot of great players, a lot of great coaches. Now that I can't really utilize any of it, it's my chance to kind of give back some of the things I've learned to some of these kids. And they've gotten a lot better in the time that I've been working with them. So that's basically what I'm doing now. I got a girl named Raleigh Wood, and I got a son who's Scott Douglas Wood III, who we call Trey. So my wife, Tony Ann, played softball at State. So we're living in Holly Springs now. So I can't complain, man. I got a really good life. I got a really good family. I got a good support staff at where I work. And then the nice part too is I get to give back some of that basketball knowledge to some of the kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's That's really cool here. And I know that, yeah, I've seen from time to time that you do your, I think it's Saturday shooting camps that you've opened up for signing. And so I always kind of laugh, even though I've never have really played basketball, I was like, maybe I'll just show up and just get some
lessons.
Listen, so I had a guy the other day. He was a little older than me. Asked, He said, "Hey, can I come? Like, I want to learn from you. Like, I want to do that." I said, at first, I was like, I don't know. I really don't know. And then I was like, you know what? If this guy really wants to come and get better, let's do it. And he came and he worked really hard. I mean, was going through everything, was working on his shots. So, I mean, if you three want to come down, I'll give you some tips. I don't know if it'll help you for what you want to do later in life, but I'll give you all the tips you want.
I need mortgage lending tips, man.
I can help you. I got a good support staff on that too, so we'll hook you up.
Hey, let's do it. Awesome. Okay. So we'll talk about that off air. No, but yeah. So before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. And kind of diving into a little bit about your time at NC State. So, obviously you had a little bit of an interesting road, and obviously was in the middle of a coaching change from Coach Sidney Lowe when you first came on to Coach Gottfried. And so wanted to kind of ask, because I feel like that especially in today's college world and even the professional, sports world and, whatever it may be, that athletes all the time go through coaching changes, and it's not unheard of. So wanted to kind of get your thoughts in terms of, if somebody came to you, and said, hey, listen, my coach is leaving, there's a transition. What would you kind of say to them in terms of, how to approach that transition process?
It's tough, especially with the coaching change and the rules now. So like when I was in school, if you decided to transfer, you had to sit out a year, no matter what. Right. Now that's not necessarily the case. So when I went through that transition, and I've said it multiple times, I had half of a foot out the door to Notre Dame. Like that's where I was going to go. I had talked, with my family, and I'd been, previously recruited, and they weren't technically allowed to reach out, but I knew that there was interest there as well. I had half the door. I was halfway out the door. And then Coach Monty Tao came to me, who ended up not staying on staff. Like he knew he wasn't on staff, but again, this speaks about the love for NC State. And he just sat down and we had a meeting, and he's like, Scott, I'm just going to tell you, like, if you want to transfer, like, I'm behind you, whatever you want to do. But I just want to let you know there's no place like NC State. Like at that time, I had started every game since my freshman and sophomore year. I was on pace to break Rodney Monroe's 3-point record. I was on pace to do a lot of things that a lot of NC State people weren't able to do. And as soon as he started saying that, and then Bobby Lutz kind of came involved and kind of showed me how they would utilize me with the Gottfried staff, it would have been hard to leave. And that was the one thing looking back on it. Even though I thought I was going to leave, it's just I knew NC State was the place for me. And I just feel like the problem is a lot of these kids now, they see it kind of almost as the easy way out. Obviously, when a coach recruited you there, you don't know if the other coach is really going to want you. So I understand that part of it, but I really do. I just feel like a lot of kids nowadays, they just want to take the easy way out. I wasn't getting the minutes, so I'm going to go here. And I looked at it a different way. My freshman year, I was a 3-star recruit. Nobody thought I was going to be anything relevant ever in NC State basketball. And I saw that as an opportunity for me to just work hard. At the end of the day, if I put forth the effort and I work hard and I don't get minutes, now we're talking a different story. But I don't think that's necessarily the case for all these kids. They come in here and just expect that everything's going to be handed to them. So, if someone actually did come to me, I would just, at the end of the day, you got to look at the situation. You got to look, one, at yourself. You got to look in the mirror. You got to be able to say, why am I leaving? Am I leaving because I haven't been playing? Am I leaving because I don't want to, change, or do I not want to work harder? So that's the first thing I would say. I think there's a lot of times a lot of these kids do make the right decision to transfer. I don't think they should be tied to the school, but at the same time, I think what they have set up with the NCAA, it is a little bit too easy to leave. Now, I do understand when coaches leave. I feel like this is a whole different scenario. The scenario I don't like is when the coach that recruited them is still there and they just leave and it's just free. That to me is a little weird. But when you get that coaching change, I do understand, because I've been in that situation, why someone would be a little bit more interested in making a move.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, because one specific example that I can think of, which actually isn't a basketball example, but it's actually college football. So, a couple of years ago, Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator in Miami. He went to take a head coaching job at Temple. A bunch of recruits from Miami went to Temple with Mark Richt, and then with Manny Diaz, and then Mark Richt left Miami, and Manny Diaz went back. But the people who just left to go to Temple are screwed, basically. I mean, because they transferred, so it's like, wait, so if Manny can leave that easily, then why can't the players? So I get that. but I mean, it kind of leads to the question of, I mean, I feel like most people would agree with this, that college basketball in today's world is not even close to what it was back in your day. I feel like,
that's less than 10 years ago. That's the crazy part. I mean, I've only been out.
Right.
I think I've been out, and this will be my 9th year I've been out of NC State, which is a long time, but it's really not a long gap, So that's the weirdest part, is how much it's changed. I went back and I was able to watch practice with Coach Keats. I mean, they had a full-on buffet spread at the Dale Center right after every practice, and it was just like, dang, man, I had to walk all the way to Case to get me. Like, how lazy is that? Yeah. But it's just changed so much. It's the game too. The game is just so much more. I call it NBA pick and roll dominated. It's just changing, and I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm not playing professional basketball as well, is because the game started to change, and I didn't like the way it was changing, and it kind of sucked a little bit of fun out of it. So instead of just playing for a check and not having any fun, I decided I can come back to the States and have fun. So
yeah, and I mean, because talking about too is that one example that I can think of whenever you think about people that are talking about how much the game has changed, and is that, I mean, like, you look at Duke in 2018, I think it was 2018, when they had Zion, RJ Barrett, and like this stacked lineup of freshmen. I mean, probably the best group of talent that has been in college basketball in quite some time. And even they couldn't win the national championship. So that to me proved that, I mean, all these schools like Kentucky and Kansas and Duke, all these schools are just these schools that just get these one and dones that are just these ridiculously good players that come and play. But then more than likely, the team that has the experience, like the Virginias, the Villanovas, those are the teams that are going to win it all, because, I mean, experience truly does matter. So, I mean, it does make, I mean, from especially from your perspective, from the basketball perspective, I mean, do you kind of wonder why maybe, like a Coach K or like, yourself at Kansas doesn't kind of look at that and go, man, like, if they couldn't win it, I mean, maybe I need to change up my strategy in terms of not really necessarily going after these one and dones and more focusing on guys that I can keep and develop, I mean, I just don't understand it really.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to turn down that talent. And the way I look at it too is, as a head coach, there's a lot of pressure from a lot of people too, they want to see the big recruits. Not many people come to a game to see a 3-star recruit. If you could see, CJ Leslie go dunk on somebody, it's a little bit more fun to watch than Scott Wood just shooting a 3.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, that's just how it is. And it is tough, but it also shows that when you get some, I don't know if cohesion would be the word, but cohesion amongst a team that has been there. You got guys that have been there for 2-3 years, and they've played with each other, know each other's game. It shows. Obviously, the Dukes, the Kentuckys may be a more talented team, but they've only played together for 1 year. And then on top of it now, you got 2-3 freshmen that are going to go pro. So now you got a sophomore and junior that may be getting minutes, and there could be division amongst, the team. So there's a lot of things that go on there. And it's not like every team gets along, especially when you know that guys are going to leave and go pro. So there's just a lot of things to it. I mean, obviously you want talent, but you got to have talent that can mesh and get along and play the game the right way.
Mm. Well, I'm curious.
Yeah, Leighton, you were saying like Coach K and Bill Self, if they need to change up their strategy, well, Coach K and Roy Williams just said they were retiring because the landscape had changed so much.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't. It's hard. I mean, it's just like this, the NIL or whatever. I mean,
yeah,
I like the idea of it, but y'all are all playing yourselves. The NCAA is playing themselves if they think that it ain't going to turn into who can pay the most money for these kids. They don't have enough rules. That's all it's going to be. They can say, oh, you can't, like, if they're going to wash a car, they got to be paid the same as someone else. You think these kids going to wash a car and they ain't going to pay them $2,000?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. And I get it because I was there. I understood. I couldn't have a job. I couldn't make money. There needs to be some type of compensation there. But it also needs to be, I don't know the right way to do it. I keep telling everybody, I was like, dude, if they gave me $50,000, $100,000, I'd have been out there buying a Corvette. You know what I mean? It's just they're going to waste their money on that. Maybe it's like you can get 40% of your money up front, but the 60 has to go towards some type of savings account until you graduate.
Yeah. I was curious what you thought about the NIL because that whole thing. I mean, that's why people are thinking, oh, that's just going to ruin college basketball and college football and all that. But do you think that's you think that's needed for players? Like,
and this is my one takeaway because I think that these players do need compensated because listen, these universities, the NCAA is making billions and billions of dollars off these kids, and these kids don't get a cent. So I do believe there needs to be some type of compensation. I really, really do. I just don't know the right way to go about it. The way I look at it is, so for example, I played 8 years professional basketball. Okay, my first 3 years were fine, but at some point in my career, I'm getting paid. It turned into me having to be a selfish player to get the most points possible, so my agent can then use that and get me a bigger deal the next year, so that I can get more money. And at some point, it wasn't about winning. It wasn't about my team. It was about selfishness. And that was hard for me. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped playing basketball, because it started to turn into a check and not about winning and losing. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, as soon as these kids start getting paid, they ain't going to care one bit about this university. And they're not going to care one bit if they win or lose, because they're getting money regardless.
They're still getting theirs.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. These first couple years may be smooth, but as soon as this starts getting into it, it's going to literally turn into, I'm just going there because it's a job.
Yep.
It ain't because I'm getting an education. It ain't because I'm trying to, raise a family one day in the city of Raleigh. I'm trying to win an ACC championship. It's because I'm getting paid. Like when Sidney Lowe came to my door, we weren't talking about money. Kevin Keats is going to have to go there and be like, oh, yeah, we're well funded at the university.
Yeah.
Like that. That's not what it's about. And that's the problem is now it's never going to be about basketball. It's going to turn into money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because, one of the things, too, that I wanted to bring up, I wanted to ask you on is one of the things I was kind of thinking through was, so like this past year for football, they didn't have the Meet the Pack day where, fans come for 2 hours, get autographs and signings. So the one thing which I wondered is, I mean, and I wanted to kind of get y'all's opinion on this. Do you think they would go as far as charging fans to get autographs from the players? Like, $20 to get in to get autographs or something? I mean,
it'd be more than that.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, would it be like $30 for quarterbacks and $5 for defensive backs? I mean, is that how far we're going to go?
I don't know. I think I know Ben Broussard really well, who runs the Wolfpack Club, and I don't know if he would do that, because there is still needs to be that connection to where, an athlete and a fan, are together. So there needs to be something like I ain't charged somebody for an autograph a day in my life and never even thought about it. Like, the way I look at it is, my dad always told me, hey, one day, he said, just enjoy it, because one day nobody's really going to remember who you are. Like, just remember it. Like, when I'm walking at Carter Finley and someone says, "Hey, Scott, go Pack." Like, you don't understand how good it feels to know people like remember your name. Like you did something for the university where somebody remembered your name. And I think that's just where you got to have that bond, because it's going to literally turn into, oh, this guy wants an autograph, let me charge him $20. No, just be a good person and sign the jersey for the kid.
I tell you what, I saw Richard Howell at the South Florida game just walk right by me. I didn't say anything because I was like, what? I don't know what am I going to do. But I was like, my wife with me, I was like, that's Richard Howell. She has no clue who he is. But I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And dude, he's lost a lot of weight too, man. He's like really slimmed down.
He looks good.
Yeah, he has.
He looks good.
That's cool.
He's in Raleigh now, so that should be another guy. He'd be a good one to have on.
That's awesome.
Richard. He'd be really good.
That'd be awesome.
We'll have to talk to him. All right. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please make sure again to please help us out and hit that subscribe button. It really helps support us in the channel. Please follow us at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram, and also to give us a like on this video, as it really helps support us. And make sure to check out all of our other in-state content. Make sure to check out part 2 as we continue this conversation with Mr. Scott Woods. So we'll see y'all then. Thank you so much. Go Pack.